Welcome back to the Jonesden. I'm Mary. Today is Sunday, August 10th, 2025, and I wanted to talk about an issue that so many of us it's impacting so many of our lives because many of us are pet owners, be it our dogs or our cats. And so we deal with we've seen increases in veterinary care over the years. And a lot of people are wondering, well, what's happening? Why is that happening? And I came across a really important article, and it's Christiana Aguayo News, and she has a Facebook page. She's also on YouTube, has some very good content. And she specifically is talking about this issue. And I'm just going to read this because it's very concise and clear content. She says, private equity firms are aggressively buying up veterinary clinics, then jacking up the prices by 100%. Private equity now owns 50% of all veterinary clinics and 75% of emergency veterinary hospitals. The firms are consolidating veterinary clinics across the U.S., driving up costs and squeezing out independent practitioners. The corporate takeovers have led to skyrocketing bills while big investors rake in profits and ditch compassionate care, which is really important because what happens when these private equity groups come in, these clinics are now run, it's all for profit, and you're missing the compassionate care. So when Miss Edith, who has 4 cats at home and lives on a fixed income, if the veterinarian no longer has the discretion to maybe don't charge Miss Edith quite as much for her checkups for her cats because they're under pressure from the bean counters that are counting every penny that they can make off of this veterinary business. Says many are now calling for government regulators to step in with stronger antitrust enforcement to restore competition. I thought this was interesting. I actually looked up, I found an article on Mahan law, and it's specifically talking about non-veterinarian ownership by states. And let's see here. So there are 3 categories. One where there isn't any regulation against it. Virginia is one. The purple states here, state administrative or court decisions restrict corporate practice of medicine. And in the blue, you'll see state laws restrict corporate practice of medicine, dentistry, optometry, or chiropractic. Now, something else I read, one of the problems is these private equities have so much money and influence that they found ways to work around those rules. And she goes on, a report from the American Animal Hospital Association detailed how corporate consolidation fueled by private equity now dominates the industry, with firms buying up practices at inflated values, then focus business on profit-driven models that pressure vets to charging high prices for services that are not needed. An analysis of veterinary practice valuations showed that acquisitions by these firms are at a record high. Let's see here. An overview from Care for Pets revealed that private equity has poured over $60 billion into veterinary sector, buying up as many vet clinics as possible. And then it also she talks about how they hide that the clinic has been bought out by private equity by keeping its original the original name of the clinic. Private equity now owns 50% of all veterinary clinics and 75% of emergency hospitals, a rise from 10% just a decade ago. Veterinary prices have jumped 100%, with some medications increasing by 78% as firms pressure staff to charge more money for services. So they're putting a lot, so many people that we know that go into that practice, they do it because they want to care and help the animals. Now they're being forced to do it for profit. And again, going away from the compassionate. It says major players like JAB and Mars Inc. and Shore Capital Partners dominate. And we see around here, VCA, which is Veterinary Centers of America, is owned by Mars, which is a private equity. And we had a situation, I know of one in particular near me where it was a private practice, very popular practice, and all of a sudden that one morning everyone woke up and the prices went through the roof, would have been bought out by VCA. And a lot of people left because they all of a sudden were charging exorbitant fees for people to care for their pets, and then I think that they're taking advantage of people's compassion because we all want to do what's best for our pets. And then there's also, you all, I'm sure, have heard of Banfield. The Banfield hospitals, I think they're still in PetSmarts. Well, that's owned by Mars also. Yes, the candy bar company. Isn't that special? But I've seen, I've noticed we have 2 dogs, and the cost has gone up. They go to 2 different veterinary practices. They're both privately owned. And I was chatting with Kona's vet last time. I had her in for a checkup, and she had said she tried so hard not to raise her fees, but she said, look, I also am a business, and she had realistically, because what she was being charged for her supplies, medicine, her pharmaceuticals and everything was going up, and so she had to pass it on to the consumer, but in a reasonable manner. And same thing with Bo's Veterinary Clinic. They've been they're very reasonable in what they charge. Yes, it's gone up just for the basic vaccines and so forth, but not in an exorbitant way. And they're not constantly trying to push new things on me when I take the dogs in. But just as an example for basic pet care, HeartGuard and both the dogs both are kind of under 100 pounds. But for the HeartGuard, for 6 months supply is $80. And NexGuard for the flea care, which we have in Virginia, you have to have it. NexGuard now, I think I used to pay, I'm trying to even remember, I think it was about $98 for 6 months. Now it's gone up $160. So that's just for those 2 things, and that's not including dog food, and then any other supplements. And so I just thought this was really important to understand what's happening, and also understand what the laws and the rules are in the state that you live in. I just found out for the first time today that Virginia doesn't have any restrictions on veterinary clinics being owned by anyone. They don't have restrictions on private investors coming in, as opposed to the clinics only being allowed to be owned by the medical practitioner. So again, this to me is a sad direction that this is going, because it's putting money as the priority and not the care. And I don't think we go in the right direction as a society if that's how our medical system and our animal care system is going. And at the rate that they're expanding, they're really being successful in kind of having the smaller practices get kind of bullied out of the market. So hope you find this helpful, and I will put links to the information in the video. And thanks again for tuning in. Have a wonderful Sunday. God bless you, and look forward to talking to you again soon.